whatever you guys need to talk about. But there's a couple things that I want to go on. Kind of housekeeping wise. So let me, hang on. Let's see here. Okay, so now that the season has officially started, we're in October, we can officially say we've started. Google Classroom is going to be my go-to place to post anything new that comes out, and that means any of the debate briefs that come out. Like we just got our debate briefs for Public Forum and LD Friday. They were just released. So I emailed those to you guys, but I also posted them on Classroom. So I will put anything and everything that has anything to do with us on Classroom. So if you're looking for something in your email and you can't find it, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be on Classroom. So the way that I have it set up is that anytime I post something new, it'll show up in the stream and it gives you kind of a brief rundown of what it is. Or you can go to Classwork and kind of scope out all the stuff I've got here. So a couple things I wanted to point out was that I posted the briefs, and the briefs are about 150 pages long a piece. So I was going to print them all and give them to you guys, but at 150 pages times 18 debaters, that's a lot of paper. So what I'm going to ask is that as you're reading through them, if you find stuff that you're like, oh, I definitely want to use this, notate the page number and then just send me the list of pages and I'll print you whatever you want. So if you think you're going to end up using the entire thing, Sanjana, I'm looking at you. If she was on the call, I think she would kind of laugh. But if you think you're going to use the whole thing or you plan on using the whole thing, then by all means, I'll make copies. But I think you're going to find some stuff in there that you're like, I don't know that I need it. And you're also going to have your computer with you as well. So if you're not a paper person, then I don't need to print it. But by all means, don't hesitate to let me know what you need. I just figure, why print a bunch of stuff if it's just going to sit in a corner somewhere that you're not going to use? So the briefs are posted. What I am printing is it's like a 13-page analysis, essentially, that they have put together on each of the topics. So if you will come and see me tomorrow, I will give you a copy of either the LD or the PUF, whichever one you ask for. And it just kind of runs down the topic, kind of explains some things to look at, some things that maybe you want to argue, some things that are probably going to be pretty common. And so I'll give you that to kind of give you a place to start. And then at that point, I'll print off whatever else you need. So I definitely do have something paper-wise for you. And I'm printing that for everybody. So that's the debate brief. So those are posted. The other thing is the YouTube channel. So I'm taking every recording of our meetings and uploading them to the YouTube channel so that you can go and watch it later if you want to. So last week I had, the last 2 weeks I've got our meetings up there, and then I'll have this one up there as well. And then I also have a little card that explains what we talked about. So if you just want to go back and rewatch an explanation or whatever, you can go back in and do that. The only time it won't record is when we go into breakout rooms. So probably starting next week, we'll start working on our cases, and I'll put you guys into breakout rooms, and those won't be recorded. So the only thing that's recorded is like this main meeting. So that will be posted for you as well. And then up at the very top, I posted our tournament schedule. And I have printed copies of this for you as well in my classroom. If you would like a printed copy, you are welcome to come by and get it. So let me kind of tell you what happened with the 23rd and 24th tournament, which was supposed to be next weekend. Long story short, I guess. The coach that was running the tournament for the 23rd and 24th was my debate coach when I was in high school. He is the nicest, sweetest man in the world, but he does not understand technology. So doing a virtual tournament for him was going to be difficult anyway. And I thought it was kind of weird that he was going to try to do it, but he was selling it as, we're going to do this tournament. We're going to get all the kinks worked out so that when we get to like the first big tournament, which was Parkway West, everybody will know what they're doing. So you guys started telling me what you wanted to compete in, and I called him and I said, okay, how do I sign up judges? Because schools are required to bring a certain amount of judges. And he said, I don't know, you need to contact the Parkway West coach. And I was like, but it's your tournament. He said, I know, but she's going to help me with it. So call her and she'll help. So I called her and she was like, She said, that is all on him. I told him that I would, he could use my format, but I'm not running it for him. So basically what he did was he copy and pasted the Parkway West invitation, sent it out as his own, but had absolutely no idea how to run it. We were the only school that RSVP'd. So there wasn't going to be a tournament anyway, because we were the only school that was even asking about judges. So I don't even think it's going to form. So I figured, why waste our time and resources on that when we could be spending time preparing for November 6th and 7th. So that's what happened with that one. So that tournament's probably not even going to form. So the Parkway West tournament is up, and I will show you guys how to sign up for that here in a minute. But here's the rest of the tournaments that we will have the rest of the year. These are all the tournaments that have been posted. If any more pop up, every once in a while, a school will come in and say, hey, we're going to host a tournament. If that happens, I'll put it on here. But as of right now, these are all the tournaments that we have notice of. So you'll notice that the last two ones are MSHSAA and NSDA. And so the way that MSHSAA districts works and the way that NSDA districts works, MSHSAA districts, I will choose, well, first I'll ask who was able to participate. Then based off of those people, I will look at your records and I will determine who will compete at districts. If you do well at districts, then you advance to state. And that is a totally different tournament in April. So that's like the only people that go to state are people that advance, just like you would in any sport or band or choir. With NSDA, that's the National Speech and Debate Association, and that's the organization that you earn points for. You can only compete in NSDA districts if you are a member. So in order for you to compete at NSDA districts, you have to have earned 25 points the rest of the season. So if you compete at 2 tournaments, you should be able to get your points pretty quickly. But you have to be paid up by the day of the tournament, which is not a big deal. That's super easy. It does not matter how many points you have NSDA for the MSHSAA districts, because MSHSAA districts doesn't care about NSDA, but NSDA districts, obviously they're only going to let people participate if you're a paid member. So we'll talk more about what districts means and who's going to compete at that when we get closer to that. So if you want to compete in every single tournament, you can. And I'm not going to tell you no, but just know that you need to clear your schedule for these 2 days, because you have no idea how well you're going to do until the actual tournament happens. And I'll be completely honest. It happened with Sanjana. She went to her very first tournament. We didn't know how she was going to do, and she broke into quarterfinals, and we were at the tournament until like 5 o'clock that Saturday, which was great. But I couldn't tell them when we were going to leave because we didn't know if she was going to advance. If she hadn't advanced, we probably could have left about noon. But because we had to wait for her round and all that kind of stuff, it just takes longer. So just know that you need to be available for both of those days. Okay, so that's the Google Classroom. And then I'm going to post here in a couple minutes this invitation or this form. So this form is what you will fill out every time that you want to sign up for a tournament. And I will send this to you in email, and I will also post it on the Google Classroom. But it's very important that you read through the entire thing as you fill it out, because once you hit submit on this form, you have signed up to participate. And every single person that participates, we as a school have to pay for. So if you sign up for it, we are expecting that you will compete. So it's going to ask, first it'll tell you when you have to have your sign up done by. So I have to know by October 27th if you're going to compete at the Parkway West tournament. And that is, I have to tell the tournament by the 28th who's competing. And it takes me about a day to make sure that I have everything in order before I can sign you up. So I have to know by the 27th if you're going to compete. Once you sign up, you cannot get out of it. I mean, unless you're like, if there's a COVID situation or there's a death in the family or something like that, that's one thing. But for you to just come back and be like, oh, I forgot, I had this to do and I totally forgot about it, I'm not going to accept that as an excuse. Like, figure out your schedule before you sign up for this. Obviously, we're going to work with you if something else pops up, like a sickness or a death in the family or something emergency. We're reasonable people. But to just do that high school thing of, oh, I totally forgot to look, that's not okay. Okay, so you're going to tell us your first and last name. You're going to give us your cell phone number just so that if I need to call you for whatever reason, I can. And then you're just going to go through, make sure you understand that you're bound for the tournament for both days. And then you just fill all this out, right? Then when you get down here, this is a part where you tell me what you're going to compete in. So you get to pick what you want to compete in. But notice that some of these things are only for returning members and some are for brand new members. So the way that tournaments are categorized, very much like sports, we have novice, which are first year competitors. So the only people that can compete at the novice level are the very first year that they've competed. Doesn't matter what grade they're in. So if you have a senior that's just now starting the team, they would be considered novice. Now, if that senior kicks butt at a tournament, I might bump them up to varsity at a later tournament, but I'm going to always start you off at novice. So that's novice. Open is kind of like the JV. So these are people that have been doing it for a year or two and are pretty average. I'm going to put them in open. And then varsity are going to be the people that have been doing this for 3 or 4 years, really have it down pat, totally understand what they're doing. They're like the top of the top. That's varsity. So I'm only going to put you in the category that I believe that you would do the best in. And if I bump you up to varsity, I will tell you that, but that's my choice and I will let you know. But I can promise you that if you're brand new to this, you'll be a novice. So you'll fill that out. And then it just says once you hit submit, you know that you've signed up for the tournament. So I will post this here in a little bit for you guys to be able to start filling out. If you want to compete at the tournament, I have to know by next Tuesday. Okay, so let's talk about, last week we talked about, hang on. We talked, I'm trying to see if this is going to show what I want it to show. Okay, yeah. So last week we talked about debate and LD and public forum. And so this week I want to talk to you about the events specifically that are going to be offered at the Parkway West tournament. So I'm going to kind of just go through this. I've posted this invitation for you to look at, so you can look at these descriptions anytime you want. And then there's also some videos posted on Classroom. If you want to watch some videos to get an idea of what it looks like, you can do that as well. But I don't want to sit here and just show you a bunch of videos, especially if it's something you're not interested in. But I do want to talk about each of these things. So the first thing is original oratory, and an oratory is literally a speech. That's all it is. This is a persuasive speech. It is written by you, and it cannot have any more than 150 words of quoted material. So you can do all the research in the world, but it should not be a research report. You may, you might want to talk about Black Lives Matter, and that's fine. And you can do research on that. But if you have something that you want to say about it, it needs to be in your own words. It needs to be your own analysis. It needs to be professional. And it's persuasive. You're trying to sell the judge on whatever you are trying to sell them on. You are memorizing it for the most part. It is required in the varsity round, in the varsity division. As a novice, you can use your script, but you're encouraged not to. I will tell you as your coach that I want it memorized. And maximum is 10 minutes. The invitation says there's no minimum, but I will tell you that your minimum is 8 minutes. So you can have research in there. You can talk about it. You can analyze it. However you want to put that in there. But it really is about what you have to say and what you think and what your message is. So there's a lot of really good ones out there. I know Saruthi has done oratory in the past. And Saruthi, do you want to talk about that at all?
Sure. Basically oratory, what I kind of thought of it as was like a TED Talk, and that's kind of what it is. You'll find that there's kind of like a set way to speak about it at the beginning, like an introduction, and then people like explain their like 3 or 4 subtopics in like a certain way. And for oratory, definitely recommend doing some research just so that you can kind of understand how to format it like in a purely like structural viewpoint, but also make sure that you're passionate about what you're talking about, and also remember that it doesn't have to be a really serious topic.
Yeah, she's right. It could be a topic about anything. And I think as you get in and you start looking at examples, you'll kind of see some silly stuff. I've seen oratories where people talk about everything they need to know they learned in kindergarten. And they go through and they talk about all the really cool things they learned in kindergarten and how those apply to the real world, and how maybe if politicians use some of these strategies that they learned in kindergarten, the world would be a better place. I mean, it can be anything. So it doesn't have to be heavy. Can be lighthearted, however you want to pull that together. Then there's the informative speech. So this is an original informative speech, which means you wrote it. It has to be memorized. You present information that you think is important for the audience to hear. The goal is to educate, not to advocate. So if you wanted to talk about Black Lives Matter, this might be an educational time to explain really what it is. Because I think a lot of people have kind of got a skewed idea of, where it came from and how it started. And, so you could do that. You could talk about, I know Saruthi did rape culture last year in her oratory. A lot of people don't know what that is. A lot of people don't know that it's an issue. So, maybe you talk about that. Maybe you talk about, why not everybody needs to go to college. I mean, it could be anything you want. You're going to look at the research. You're going to give it. You can have a visual aid. I'm not totally sure how visual aids are going to be used in the informative speaking. For this go around, I'm imagining that you would just share your screen as you're presenting. But if you decide to do an informative speech, you and I can figure out what that's going to look like. Extemporaneous speaking, this is going to look different for my novices. So my first year people versus my returning people. So with extem, you will get 3 questions emailed to me, and then I'll send them to you. 3 questions Wednesday at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock. If you're doing foreign, there are going to be questions about foreign policies, things that maybe the United States is helping with in the foreign world. It could just be looking at a specific country. So looking at how North Korea is handling nuclear missiles or what, there's a ton of different things it could be. So you get a choice of 3 questions and you answer one of them. And then you're going to write the speech in basically 30 minutes, record it, and then upload it by 5 o'clock. So you have 2 hours to get your topic, write a quick speech, and then upload it. So foreign is all about foreign stuff. Domestic is going to be, stuff that's happening in the United States. So it could have something to do with domestic terrorism. It could be the election. It could be COVID. I can guarantee you there's going to be stuff on there about COVID and about the election. And then with Parkway West being after the election, I could see them talking about throwing something in there about the election and how things are being handled or whatever. So the questions are going to be all over the place. If you are doing novice, so if you're going to do extemp for the first time as a first year debate person, it could be, the questions are either going to be domestic or foreign. It could be one or the other. So you'll get 3 questions, you pick one. There's no rhyme or reason how you pick it. It's totally your call. I will gladly be in my room that Wednesday at 3 o'clock. And you are welcome to stay in my room and write that speech and record it and upload it in my room. I cannot help you. For obvious reasons, it's a tournament. I can't help you with that. But I'll definitely be there for technical support if you need it. Or if you just have like actual like questions about like the format and the like how it all works. So that's extemp. Dramatic and humorous interpretation. This is going to be where you take a 10-minute script, you memorize it, and you perform it. In novice, it's going to be DI and HI will be combined. So in a novice room, you may see some dramatic people and some humorous people. If you are coming back as a second or third year, then you're either going to do humorous or dramatic, and then they will be separate rooms. Prose and poetry. We talked a little bit about this before, where you take literature from published sources and you read it, you put it together in some kind of a message. Your introduction is going to explain what you're trying to talk about, what message you're trying to get out. And you're either going to do that in prose, which is fiction. Okay, so you think of like short stories or novels, or poetry, which is obviously poetry. And you can have a bunch of different poems that kind of tie together. And in your introduction, you would explain how they all tie together. POI, which is Program of Oral Interpretation, is only available for people that are returning. And this is essentially prose and poetry combined. So in POI, you can pull prose, you can pull poetry, you can pull articles, you can pull nonfiction, you can pull whatever you want for whatever your message is. And you're going to put all these pieces together, put together an intro that explains how they all tie together, and then put that out there. So that's what POI would be. So these are the things that are offered at this tournament. And you can enter into 2 events. So you could do 2 of these things: oratory, informative, extemp, DIHI, prose, poetry, or POI. So speech is its own thing and debate is its own thing. So you can enter 2 events and 1 debate. You can enter 1 event and 1 debate, or you can just enter events, or you can just enter debate. It's totally your call, whatever you want to do. I would suggest that if you are going to do debate, try one of these events just to see what it's about, because I think you'd be surprised how much you like it once you get in it. Extemp is going to be different this year because normally you would have to go into the library at the tournament, you get your 3 questions, you literally have 30 minutes. The second you tell them what question you're going to talk about, they start the timer and you get 30 minutes to write your speech. And then when that 30 minutes is over, you go directly into the room and you give the speech. This year, because it's all done on the computer, you could even potentially, if you're tech savvy, split your screen so that you are looking at the camera on one side and then on the other side, you've got your speech outline. So you've got something to kind of help you go through. That will make Extemp a lot easier, and it's a really good way to kind of lead into Extemp so that next year when we go to actual tournaments, you've had some experience with it. I always really liked Extemp because I was able to, if you somewhat pay attention to the news and you somewhat do a little bit of research with your speech, with the topic that you get, you're going to write a good speech. And again, if you choose to do Extemp, I will help you beforehand and give you some ideas on how to open up your speech, how to organize your speech, so you're not flying blind. Like, that's the whole point of having a coach. But I want you to pick what you think you want to try first before I go in and talk about all that. Okay. So do you have any questions about the events? Did I do that good of a job explaining it?
For the informative event, are we arguing something, or are we just informing people? Like, are
it's
we
literally informative? You're just informing them. If you to argue, I say in quotes, if you want to try to persuade somebody of something, then you're going to do oratory.
So for the oratory one, it's kind of like a persuasive speech almost.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
Does it need to be serious, or isn't that what you said?
No, it doesn't have to be serious. You want it to have a purpose, but sometimes the more, what's the word, unserious? What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Those can be the most effective.
Like laid back?
Yeah, laid back or not so like staunch. Like if you come in with like guns a-blazing and you're trying to prove a point and you're like real rigid, sometimes that message doesn't always get out. So if you can be a little bit more laid back and a little bit more laissez-faire with it, sometimes your message is stronger that way. Okay. So I posted this invitation to Classroom, and I'm going to go back to Classroom and show you. Can you see my Classroom? Okay. So over on the left-hand side, there's some stuff about Lincoln Douglas. There's script options, humorous, interp, oratory, informative, poi. It's all here. You can prose. You can also go directly to YouTube and you search for whatever event you're looking for and just put like extemp speeches, and you'd be surprised the amount of stuff that comes up. The other thing I wanted to point out were the ballots. So the ballots are what the judge is going to use to judge you. So I'm going to pull up the poetry ballot. So it's going to look a little different this year because it's online. So the ballots, normally what they do is they have an actual ballot that they write out for each person. And then at the end of the tournament, you get the ballot. But this year it's all electronic. So I'm not totally sure what the ballot will look like, but it's going to ask for the same stuff. So what it does is it asks for the contestant, the name of the speech, and then it's just their opinions of what they thought. You know, you're trying to wow the judge with the 10 minutes that you have in front of them. So however you feel that you can do that is appropriate. And that's part of the reason why Speech and Debate is so cool, is that you have parameters, but you get to be creative with it. Like you can think outside the box, and as long as you're within the rules, you can do it however you want. So don't feel like when you're watching those debate or you're watching like videos of the different events, if you see something and you're like, maybe I would have done it this way, then do it that way. Do it your way. You just want to make sure that you're not using curse words. You're not being so politically incorrect that you're offensive. So if you're writing a persuasive speech and your speech is going to use like racial, not necessarily racial slurs, but you know, you're talking about things that happen in society and they're not always like the nicest things. It's fine to talk about it. You just don't want to be like, I'm not a racial kind of person, so I'm not good at giving examples, but like you wouldn't want to walk in and be like, you know, if you're talking about a white person who's, you know, that hillbilly, right? You wouldn't want to say something like that and like mean it. It'd be one thing if I wanted to say like, you know, in Indiana, everybody there is called a Hoosier, because everybody there is a Hoosier. Like, I don't know that I would want to say that. They're called Hoosiers because that's the Hoosier state. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense? So you just want to be careful. You don't want to be like a total jerk about it, but if you need it to explain the topic or whatever you're trying to discuss, that's fine. So anyway, so they're looking at your introduction. They're looking at, did you understand the piece? Did you understand the ramifications of what you were talking about? And then your delivery. Do you have good eye contact? Do you have good pacing? Or do you have a good volume? And all of those things are things that are going to be terrifying the first time you do it. But then after you do it, you get better. And every time you look at those ballots, you think, oh yeah, maybe they were right. Maybe I need to fix that. Or you look at it and you're like, that person had no idea what they were talking about. And sometimes that happens. And that's just the luck of the draw with judges. You will not get the ballot until the end of the tournament. So you won't actually get to look at the ballots until the tournament's over, but you can use the feedback for your next tournament. So I don't have all the ballots posted up here. I have a couple. As I get more, I will post more for you. But, you know, you can go here and kind of look at all the different stuff I have posted for you, just to kind of get you started. So what I'm going to do is post this link.
Miss Frankie, I have a question.
Yeah.
For the upcoming tournament, I think on November 6th, right?
Yep.
Do we use the November-December topic for public forum?
Yes. That's a good question. Yeah, she will use a November, December topic. So the great thing about any tournament for this semester is you'll use that November, December topic. So if you decide to go to more than one tournament this semester, you can reuse your cases. You don't have to rewrite your cases every time you go to a tournament. If you want to, you can, or you may find that you want to add stuff to them or change things around. That's totally fine. But you don't have to. So if we look at, let's see, here's the schedule. So the Parkway West, Ladue, Clayton, Mexico, and Pattonville tournaments, you can use the same case for. So, and then I think what you'll find is if you do go to all 4 tournaments, because this is what I used to do, my case for the Parkway West tournament probably wouldn't be the greatest. But by the time I got to Pattonville, I had it down and I knew exactly what people were going to argue, and I was able to find ways to close up those holes before they got to me. Okay, so I am going to post, just so you can see me do it, Parkway West. Okay, so it is posted. You do not have to do it right now, but it is posted up there for you. One other thing I wanted to show you is the entire tournament is going to be done through a program called SpeechWire. SpeechWire is, you have to have an account in order to participate in the program. So once you go and tell me that you're going to participate at the West tournament, I will then send you an email. I will go in and put your email address in. SpeechWire will send you an email and have you confirm your account. Saruthi already did this. Was it easy to do, Saruthi?
Yeah, it was really easy.
It was easy. Okay. So everything that you have to do for the tournament will get sent to you through SpeechWire. So you'll get links to like all your rounds in Speech. It'll either send it to you in SpeechWire or it'll send you an email. I'm not totally sure how it works. But you have to have an account in the SpeechWire before I can sign you up. So that's another reason why I have to make sure that everybody's signed up the Tuesday before, so that I make sure everybody's got a SpeechWire account before I can register them. Okay. Do you guys want to talk about anything? Any questions? Ruthie, do you have anything you want to throw in there?
I definitely start now. At least like make your document like today, even if that's all you do, just because like the date will like it'll sneak up on you. So just like even if you just like make the document and a folder in your Google Drive, just like get started and work on it slowly, so you're not doing it all the night before. Because my freshman and even some of sophomore year, we definitely did that, and it was really stressful, and it just wasn't the best it could have been.
Would it be helpful for me to put you guys in separate breakout rooms like Puff and LD? You guys could like work with each other for a few minutes.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, hang on. So I'm going to need to know what room to put each of you in. So Ruthie, you want to go into LD or Puff?
Is Sanjana here?
No.
No, okay. Oh wait, no one has done LD or Puff is here.
Let's do this. Let's say that next week we will break out into breakout and work with each other with LD and Puff, and then I can go through and kind of work through with you guys.
What is LD and Puff?
LD is Lincoln Douglas and Puff is Public Forum. Those are the debate types. Okay, so let's let's leave it at that then. If you have any questions throughout the week, send me an email. Next weekend, we will meet together and break into breakout rooms with Lincoln Douglas and Public Forum. And then if you are not planning to do any debate and you just do events, I'll keep you in the main room, and then we can talk about what your events are going to look like and what you're working on and how I can help you with that. So between now and next week, let's say figure out which type of debate you want to do, if that's what your plan was, or what your event's going to be, and maybe have some kind of a rough outline or starting to find pieces. If you're going to do poetry or prose, finding those pieces, or if you're going to do some research for informative or oratory, just start working on your stuff so that we have something to talk about next week. And then make sure that you are signing up for Parkway West by next Tuesday. So not this week, next. So you have a whole week and 2 days to determine what you want to do at the Parkway West tournament. And don't feel like you have to compete at the Parkway West tournament. If you are wanting to wait, it's fine. You do not have to do every single tournament. You can, but you don't have to. But I will tell you that the sooner you start competing, the better off you are, because if you start now, you're going to be competing with people that have also never competed before. If you wait until December or January to start competing, those people have 2 months on you. So just kind of putting that out there just to kind of help you. Okay. So what I will do is I will get some prices on the shirts and I will post those for you guys later this week. If you are a virtual student and you want to do a shirt, I will either have you drop off money at school, or if you guys aren't leaving the house, I will come pick it up from you. That's fine, whatever you want to do. Otherwise, you guys will just stop by and give me your money during AI, because we'll have that this week. Next week. And that's what I know. Was I clear?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So you guys go enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see